All right. So here we go. So, uh, Katrina, what are some of the things that we have learned, or what are some of the keys recently that I know you were making some Facebook posts recently about your cycles and how that helps you flow in life. Do you want to share that a little bit? Um, like some of the revelations that you had and the keys about how that affects and can help improve a marriage with in the context of flowing together and understanding your cycles and that.
Yeah. So I've been the last while, I've been really, last couple of years actually, I've been really deep diving into who I am as a woman and my hormones. And I've also been like discovering a lot of things about how my hormones um, play a big part in my emotional life. And it all ties together. And I like to look at my um, hormones as the cycles as seasons. So I look at it as spring, summer, fall, and winter. And you go through a woman goes through them every month. You have those 4 seasons. Um, and so let's just take a look. Like say you have spring, um, and that's well. I often start. Well, let's start spring again. So say you have spring, it's more of a new life. There's a lot of times spring brings out green leaves, warmer temperatures. Um, and so in our hormones, that's often after we have our period, and we are emotionally, you're often more have more energy, you're more stronger. Your lioness is roaring because you went through your winter and you're ready to push through and start new habits and new cycles and really start a new life. Then you have summer, and that's ovulation for a woman, and that's sexuality, and that's beauty, and oh, what's the other word? Creativity for a woman. And then you have fall, and that is when you're preparing for winter. Things start to, like in the real season, you have leaves changing color. It starts to get cooler, days get shorter. And that's kind of how it is for a woman in her cycle. She's preparing for her period, and she can have PMS symptoms. And I often find that season I'm a lot more aware. I start to become aware about of things, aware of triggers, aware of habits, different things in my life. And then you have winter, which is your period, you're bleeding. That's the release. And that's often I look at that emotionally. Um, I'm releasing things like breaking through the triggers. I'm releasing the old habits, and a lot of times you have a lot of um, revelations during that time as well, because you're getting downloads from Papa. You're really close. I feel like you can get really close.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and in our marriage, I've discovered that when I enter each of those seasons and really intentionally press into each season, because we need all of those seasons to have our cycle to regulate and go properly. So when I really deep dive into each of those seasons, it can bring a lot of revelations, a lot of breakthrough, a lot of closeness. Um, so something that I've noticed, even like I've discovered the ovulation season for me. The last the last season when I was going through that, it was really rough, and I was not entering the season, and I really took time to just pause and really press in, like, why is this? And I realized there was a lot of shame that I still was carrying. I needed to press through that, release it, let go, and just allow my creativity to take hold of me, because I'm very creative, to let that take hold of me and really press into it with our marriage. Like specifically for our marriage, like how can I be creative to make our marriage more spicy, more fun, more intimacy, just really press into that. So for me, it's brought a lot of confidence as well. Knowing who I am brought a lot more confidence, and that also helps our marriage out because I can be confident in myself. I'm confident in my beauty. I'm confident in who I am as a woman. And yeah, it carries on into a marriage. Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, no, that's good. Uh, and we, Carlos and, and Chantel and us we just got done doing an interview, and that's going to be released this Friday, I believe, and where we get a lot more into depth on that, how that ties into even,
especially on the subject of sexuality. And,
yeah,
shame
it all ties together. Talking about freedom, how from our background, how I think the creativity, especially in women, maybe the creativity and that side of femininity is really suppressed a lot. And so it's when you're now entering into like more of a deeper understanding of freedom, and God created this versus this needs to be shut down. Now it's a thing of exploration and finding your identity in that.
Yeah.
Where it's something that God created is so weird how we somehow believe that this immense creativity that is part of what God created and who God created has become. I think the belief behind it is that the woman is evil. The woman doesn't know, is not in that intuition and that wisdom, and things got twisted. The belief is that you know Eve was deceived. The story of in Genesis, Adam and Eve. Eve was deceived, and so therefore the woman is just not capable of. It's still like they're living under that. The belief is that they're still living under that curse.
Yeah.
But then coming into a better understanding of there is freedom, and there is purity.
Yeah, letting go of that shame, guilt, that
back to the original design.
Yeah,
what was supposed to be.
Religion and culture puts on women, and even expectations that culture puts around women. Just the Hollywood scenario, I guess, of what a woman's supposed to look like or be like, or
the religious,
yeah,
our Anabaptist background. What's a good, godly Christian woman supposed to look like? Well,
there's a lot of lies out there.
There's there's lots of different beliefs, and looking through that, be like, okay, what is freedom? How did God actually design us versus what are our beliefs?
Yeah.
Some other keys that we've learned is, yes, breaking through the shame, but and into freedom. But another thing, a big thing for me, was the concept of investing into relationships. I understand investing from a business standpoint. I'm a businessman. I run multiple businesses, and so I'm used to that terminology, invest. However, my priority was business first and making money first. And then once I have money, then I can take care of my family and, all these other things that we want to do. But what I'm understanding now is that no, taking care of my family, taking care of the things that God has given us comes first. And the revelation that we got with that is that, biblically speaking, to seek the kingdom of heaven first. What is the kingdom of heaven? Well, the kingdom of heaven doesn't deal in money, it deals in relationships. So, who is our seeking the kingdom of heaven is relationships. If that's the case, who is the first relationship priority? It's our marriage. Seeking the kingdom of heaven is literally literally investing into our marriage first. Obviously, we have to have a connection with Papa, with God. We have to, and that has to be part of the equation as well. However, as far as on this level, on the earth level, the kingdom of heaven, seeking the kingdom of heaven is not ministry. It's not um, going out and serving everybody else. It's literally investing in everything into our own marriage, building our family, and then taking care of others as we are led. So that revelation then having the investment mentality into our marriage was or is so powerful for like such a huge shift for us.
Mhm.
And practically speaking, that looks like where are we spent where am I spending my time first? And it's not so much a thing of it has to be a specific way. It's an attitude of the heart. If something is first priority, you're going to make its first priority. It's the thing you think about the most. It's the thing that you spend the most time on. It's the thing that you spend the most money on. um, so having that mentality into our relationship, okay, how do I empower her to have a house, to build our household? How do I empower her to get the things she needs to make a beautiful home and to have beautiful clothes that she feels confident in, and to the resources to be able to train our kids, and all these things that we expect that the woman is supposed to do. The woman stays home and takes care of the household. Well, if that's the case, she needs to be supported and she needs to be the first priority, because this is the thing that we're building.
And it's where a woman draws life from. So when she has that emotional and physical support from
Yeah.
her partner, it empowers her to keep pushing through the hard, keep pushing in, and then because she's being filled, she's going to be able to then fill her part, like fill
Yeah,
be
it
able to
creates a
fill
positive
Eric up.
cycle.
And so we are constantly filling each other up from um that. We develop a flow, a cycle. We're constantly pouring into
And
each other.
previously, like, do you want to? I'm going to look up on Facebook on our live stream to make sure to see if there's anybody commenting there. But do you want to comment a little bit about how was it previously, like, um, before we had this understanding? Like, how did it feel, and what was the result of the negative cycles that we were creating?
I think you should also say a little bit about some of the things that you broke through, even with like your trust.
Oh yeah, trust, yeah.
Because that was a huge breakthrough as well, and
Yeah.
also created a better flow for us in our marriage. I don't know if you want to share that now.
Yeah, look up. Well, about trust. That was just another piece of the pie, or another, a really big marker in our journey of how that of breakthrough into to creating better cycles. So in our it seems like it's always this negative cycle or this positive cycle, like it's always feeding on each other. So whatever we choose to create, it then feeds each other. And if we want to create a positive cycle, we have to identify the current one and then break it and actually purposefully start a new one. And one of those things for me was trust. I had a really hard time, with my belief systems, the things that I believed about women, previous experiences that confirmed that. And I had a really hard time trusting women at a very deep level. And so that kept me from trusting and having a safe place with Katrina. And it caused this mistrust. And so there was always this, when things happened, then it was like, confirmation. And there was just, it was a level where when there's mistrust in a relationship, you can go to a certain level, and then beyond that, trust is the currency of relationship.
Mhm.
If relationships would be are a commodity, trust is how you buy it. And without that, it's like we can go to a certain level, but beyond that, we just don't feel safe. There's just this conflict. It just not working. So when I was able to understand the root belief, which it stemmed back to my childhood and experiences. That's how it works. Is often the things that happen when we're 2 or 3 years old and 5 years old. We things happen, and we start believing things that are not true. And going back there and in my mind and looking at that through adult eyes, and then releasing those things, forgiving. Release looks like forgiveness, or forgiveness looks like releasing judgment, and literally just releasing, forgiving myself for whatever happened, and the people involved, and the women. For my case, it was women, and so breaking through that was a huge step into, where we could progress in our trust level, um, and we keep building trust.
And so, yeah, it like earlier on, he didn't trust me fully. I then could sense that, and it was a lot of conflict,
Caused a lot of frustration.
frustration.
Yeah.
I felt things, but I didn't quite know what it was, and so then, I would get frustrated or emotional, or we'd lash out, and um, we weren't aware of what was going on, and so it was a lot of tension. And so it was through cycles too. It wasn't like our marriage was just bad. um but it was just through these cycles. Things
We'd
would
have
go well, and then
good times, and then all of a sudden
it would be like we'd hit a bump. Maybe I'd have a trigger, or he'd have a trigger, and we couldn't work through it quite well, because there was, there was that trust, and there was the even me discovering more about who I was as a woman, like, helped me to um, be able to navigate some of that stuff too. But those triggers. But then we'd have a season where we couldn't quite connect, and
we'd just be stuck.
And we'd be stuck in this hole. And it's amazing how awareness brings freedom, really. So,
and I would say also that it doesn't, just because you have awareness and tools doesn't mean your life, your marriage, or whatever is going to be perfect.
No.
You still go, like, just today, we had conflict, and we had frustration, and we still have frustration, but the point is, now we have tools and an understanding and a base level of trust that's much higher. We used, versus down here. Now our trust level's up here, and now we can actually talk about things and process through things, and
yeah, I think even, like, I don't know if this is saying too much, but like even like times before, it could be where we couldn't have that deep intimacy, and even sex, like, very well in the midst of that whole stuff, because we were just kind of mad and frustrated at each other, and we couldn't. But now it's interesting to me how many times, like, how fast I can switch my mind, and my mindset. Yeah, you know what, I still might have the same trigger or the same frustration or whatever conflict we're working through. I still might have that. I still feel the same way, but I can switch my mindset and we can still connect, even though we can still even have, like, say, sex, or we can still have that intimacy, and even um, in that time of sorting out our conflict. So it's a whole different level of, and we can work through it a lot faster too.
Mm-hmm.
Before it would go on for weeks, and now it might be just, a couple hours or a day.
Yeah.
um,
So yeah, we keep progressing,
Yeah.
and it's always something that we talked about today on our legacy, our leadership meeting, was that, seasons still happen, and that's important to recognize also. Just because we're growing and just because we're doing well and we're seeing that we're making progress, the important thing though is, so a big takeaway that I got from that is, it's conflict and waves and rocking the boat, to so to speak, is good. It's beneficial. Yes, it's, you say growing pains. Yes, it is painful. It is a thing where we're experiencing pain, and that is beneficial. And seeing that the growing pains are good, because, and why is that? Because it creates the muscle. It creates the growth. We create growth through pain. And it doesn't feel great when you're doing it. However, if you have the mentality and the understanding of, oh, this is growth, this is pain, this is the next cycle of, or this next season of conflict and things that we're working through, means that now we are getting better. We don't get better when everything is smooth sailing. We just don't. In fact, we typically go downhill. But it's human nature dictates that we gravitate toward what feels good, and less towards, we gravitate away from pain and towards pleasure. And that's just human nature. And that often means that we do the things that are easiest at the moment. And it's, yeah, we have to have pain. That's the purpose of pain, is for growth and discomfort. And so even that was just a big takeaway for changing my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Changing perspective is what has to happen. In the midst of it, we have to take back. And
Yeah.
like Carlos was saying, that was another thing that Carlos was mentioning, is, or that I connected with. In the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the things that are happening, is it's extremely beneficial, or it's necessary, in order to find the answers are never found in the chaos. We always have to step back and ground ourselves again in truth, or in love and peace. And in that love and peace and that centeredness and that groundedness, that's where we find the answers again.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, so I am actually in the season of winter, physically, and I find that a lot of times we face that a lot more. We kind of sync up emotionally. We find we have a little more things to work through, conflict.
If you're getting married, as men, we need to be aware that our wives go through cycles, and be okay and flow with it.
But I was gonna say too is, like, the word I kept hearing this past couple days is just press into the hard. I was facing a little more PMS than I normally do, or emotional. For some reason, feeling a lot more emotional the last couple days, more than I normally do, and I kept hearing just keep pressing into the hard, keep pressing in. And then today's call, I just really felt convicted. I'm pressing into the hard, but I also need to pause and regroup and not join the chaos and the noise of the hard. Like regroup. I got to press in to keep growing, but I also need to regroup and find who is my center, core of peace and love, and God, and how my connection with Him, and draw from that. And so that's something that um, I got to keep pressing into, because that'll set the tone for my whole home, then, like my kids and my husband in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah. So there you go. Now you have all the stuff you need for amazing marriage. Just kidding. No, those are some keys that we've been learning the last little while. Some of our big things, aha moments that has helped us go from a good marriage to now a really great marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And and continually
getting better,
because we're both vested into how can we have a great marriage.
Yeah.
And
what can I do to improve, and what can we
yeah. And because that's our focus, that's our first priority is having a great home. When you have a great home and a great marriage, even single people, this can apply for, it's in the marriage context, but when your relationships are good, everything else just gets so much better. Because we were made for connection. We were made for relationship. That's how we were designed. And the better we get at that, the more other stuff lines up.
Mm-hmm. Everything flows. Yeah. Business.
So
outside. Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, I don't see anybody joining us on Facebook, but I might not know how to run it. If you have questions, I saw Jable and Tina. These are skills and tools that would be valuable to teach men and women before they get married. I 100% agree. Yeah. It would have definitely been beneficial. I mean, it's never too late to start, but now having this, being equipped better and being able to equip my children, that is an amazing opportunity. And I'm sure that they will have revelations and stuff that we don't have.
And just think about what you can do right now by purposely choosing to change your legacy now, what that can do for your future generation legacy.
About that. It's like look back at our parents. Like, what are some of the choices today? I mean, 20 years ago, 50 years ago that they made, besides getting married, obviously, and having you. But what are some of the choices that they made in leading their family that makes us who we are today? And, for my parents, I can say, well, largely the desire to grow better. And the reason I am where I am is because of my dad's leadership and some of the choices that he made. So yeah, we can, I don't know that I realize how powerful that is, but bringing it into perspective.
Yeah. But anyway, we're late.
If you want to unmute yourself, you may. If not, we appreciate you being here and watching this. This has been the Community Mentorship Call, and today's date is March 21st of 2024. So we will be adding this to YouTube and to the Epic Your Life community here. I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for joining us.